YouTube video of Study with Ash, and today we're going over one of the most important topics of this molecular biochemistry, and that is the purine salvage pathway. So we'll be making a short video on the purine salvage pathway because it is important. Yet if I put up more content with that particular pathway, it would become a lot more saturated for you guys. So let's begin. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe and comment to my YouTube channel so I can keep on making videos for you guys. So what is purine salvage? So our body is already very tight on energy. It keeps on making energy, but eventually your body does get tired. So to prevent our body's metabolism from getting tired, we don't make de novo purines every time. So what we do is that we take the excess purine, and instead of building them from scratch, we attach bases back to the sugar molecule. This is the sugar molecule, which is the phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, which was synthesized here, if you remember, from ribose 5-phosphate. So ribose 5-phosphate initially made phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, right? It made phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, and it is further utilized in the purine salvage pathway. So what it does is it takes up guanine, it takes up hypoxanthine, and it takes up adenine and converts them back into GMP, IMP and AMP. So this is a body mechanism that turns the purine bases such as guanine, hypoxanthine, adenine into GMP, IMP and AMP respectively. So all that you need to remember from this particular pathway is that initially when we synthesized the purines, what did we make? We made here. This was the purine pathway. We made AMP and GMP and IMP. IMP was the intermediate to make AMP and GMP. So what we did was that we took AMP and GMP and we reformed them, not de novo, but rather using the free purine bases. So basically, initially what happens is these nucleic acids are formed. They are formed. They convert back to GMP. Then GMP converts into guanosine. Guanosine is converted back into guanine. So guanine is just floating in the body. So you take up guanine and converts it back to GMP. Same is the case for IMP. You can convert GMP back to IMP as we did over here. And what we do is that we can convert IMP into inosine, and then we can convert it into hypoxanthine. We initially studied that adenosine can be converted into hypoxanthine. We studied it in the deamination reactions. So this is how adenosine is converted into hypoxanthine, by first turning into inosine and then converted into hypoxanthine. And guanine, as we studied earlier in the deamination reactions, it's converted into xanthine. So we need to remember, as I said earlier, that adenosine, A comes first, so it is the small hypo means small. So adenosine is converted into hypoxanthine, whereas guanine is the later alphabet, so it is converted into the actual xanthine, not the hypo one. So xanthine does now name sound familiar? Yes. So when we think of xanthine, we think of xanthine oxidase inhibitors. Does that click? That's basically the uric acid lowering drugs. The uric acid lowering drugs include allopurinol and febuxostat, which are essentially xanthine oxidase inhibitors, right? So these are xanthine oxidase inhibitors, which is why when we studied this 6-mercaptopurine and azathioprine, we said that if we inhibit conversion of PRPP into IMP, what we do is that we divert IMP into synthesis. We divert IMP synthesis, but what we do is that 6-mercaptopurine is also metabolized by xanthine oxidase inhibitors. So it leads to increased 6-mercaptopurine conversion and increased levels of metabolites which are toxic. So to sum it all up, what we need to remember is basically that we have nucleic acids which are converted into purine bases, and then we can convert them back into GMP instead of going back to the de novo purine synthesis. So what we do is we convert guanine to GMP, we convert inosine into IMP, and we convert adenine to AMP. So for the GMP, for the guanine and the hypoxanthine, the enzyme is one, that is the HGPRT. So that is the hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase. I will write the okay, it's written over here. So it's HTPRT, which stands for hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase. You do not need to remember the entire name, but you need to know that this is the enzyme that is not present. Alright, so even though we do not need to memorize the pathway, we need to remember some essential clinical correlates with this. So if we think about the adenosine deaminase deficiency, basically adenosine deaminase is the enzyme which converts adenosine into inosine. So it is over here, right? So in the case of severe combined immunodeficiency, which is an immunodeficiency syndrome, what happens is that adenosine deaminase is not present. So adenosine cannot be converted into inosine, and it cannot be further be converted into hypoxanthine, and it cannot be converted back into IMP. What happens is that this leads to fewer nucleotides that are generated from the purine salvage pathway. So overall synthesis of DNA precursors in the cells is decreased, leading to decreased number of lymphocytes. So your T cell mediated immunity is affected. We will be going over the decreased lymphocyte count later as well. So this is one of the major causes of autosomal recessive SCID. So there are basically 3 genes that are affected in the SCID, and this is one of the major causes of autosomal recessive severe combined immunodeficiency. Then the second most important one is the Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. So Lesch-Nyhan syndrome is a very, very high yield topic for step 1. Then what we need to remember is we just studied that HGPRT. What it does, it's convert. Alright. So in defective purine salvage pathway, you have the deficient or mutated HGPRT. So what happens is that there is decreased GMP from guanine, and there is decreased IMP from hypoxanthine. So you cut this off. What you do is you are cutting off a source of one of the greatest pathways of purine salvage. You cannot make GMP and you cannot make IMP, right? So in that case, there is a compensatory increase in purine synthesis, and what happens is that this pathway, the forward direction, that is increased, right? But in backward direction, it is not increased. So this guanine and this hypoxanthine is being constantly converted into xanthine and hypoxanthine, and this xanthine, if not inhibited by xanthine oxidase inhibitors, it is being converted into uric acid. And this is something that we need to remember, that Lesch-Nyhan syndrome classically leads to hyperuricemia. Secondly, what happens is it causes a hyperuricemia, and this hyperuricemia leads to red orange sand sodium urate crystals in diaper. So the clinical stem would say red orange sand in diapers. So, do you know what else is red orange? So you classically think, oh, red orange secretions. That must be due to rifampicin use. ठीक है? So the DD would be rifampicin or rifampin use, which is used in tuberculosis. But remember that causes tears and sweats to be classically turn orange, and the patient would classically present with either pulmonary symptoms or symptoms of any other tuberculous manifestations. So you need to keep the differential in mind. One other thing is self-mutilation. They would, if they give you a hyperuricemia, that's something that you can guess easily, but they'll give you self-mutilation and intellectual disability classically in this STEM. So this is something that's very important. So for HGPRT, the mnemonic itself is HGPRT, that is H for hyperuricemia, G for gout, P for pissed off, that is aggression and self-mutilation. There is red orange crystals in urine. You see red orange sand in diapers, and you notice tense muscles and dystonia. So these are the classic manifestations. But remember, self-mutilation, hyperuricemia, red orange sand in diapers, gout, and macrocytosis. These are some of the manifestations of Lesch-Nyhan syndrome, and this is classically tested. I think they would want you to know this very, very well. So this is one of the star topics of USMLE Step 1 when it comes to biochemistry. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you ask me any questions if you have in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.